Hey everyone, welcome back. So today is Monday. Got quite a few stories to tackle today. One of them is Sphere 3D and Gryphon. They're not going to be merging it anymore. So that's announced today at right around 4 o'clock. The stock for Sphere 3D Annie is jumping right now in after hours. We'll take a look at it. And then we also have Intel's ASIC chips are coming out in possibly the third quarter and then finally being shipped, I think, to customers in 2023. So we got that to cover. Also, Digihost provided their production update for March. There's also a caveat to it. We'll get into it, but it's something cool that they're doing that nobody else is doing. And we also have Marathon providing their production update for March. So we'll get into that as well. But first, we'll take a look at the miners, see how they did, how Bitcoin is doing right now, along with Ethereum. And then we'll get into all the news stories as we always do. So as always, not financial advice. You know the drill here. I'm invested in the following companies and coins. So let's get into the miners here first. So right now, Annie was actually down on the day 1.81% to $2.17. However, once the news came out at right around 4 o'clock, we saw a huge dip, obviously here in the first hour or so after trading hours. It went down to as low as $1.48, and then it just bounced like crazy to as high as $3.24. It is now up 30% in the after hours to $2.83. And it looks like people are obviously liking the news that they're not going to be merging with Gryphon Mining. We'll take a look at the story here as well, and after we do all these miners for the day, and we'll get into the other stories as well. Argo was down 3.27% today to 96 cents. They are now below the 20-day moving average and the 50-day moving average, which looks like we may see an upward trend, but we're not seeing it right now, so we'll see how this one plays out going forward. Bitfarms was down 1.05% to $3.76. It is up slightly in after hours, 1.33% to $3.81. Cleanspark was actually up 3.85% today to $13.23. It's up a little bit more now in the after hours as well, which is good. And then we got Core Scientific. Core was up 3.18% to $8.77. It is down 2.96% on the after hours trading to 8.51. Excuse me. And then we got Digihost. Digihost is up 8.88%. There's obviously news for this, why this is possibly pumping, but it's up to $3.68. After hours is up a little bit more again, which is really good for Digihost. DMG was up 3.17% to 57 cents. Hive was up 0.95% to $2.13. Hut 8 was down 0.18 to $5.55. It is now up after hours 0.18, so it's basically a draw there. Iris Energy was down 0.89% to $15.66. Luxxfolio was down 0.77% to 29 cents. And Marathon was up 1.33% to 28.92. It's up a little bit at after hours as well. Mawson was up, the best here was up 11.71% to $5.63. And then we got Riot. Riot was down 0.19% to $20.69. It's up slightly in the after hours right now. So let's take a look at Bitcoin, see what it's doing right now. And Bitcoin is pumping right now. We did hit a low of about 45,100 or so. During the day here. We have obviously continued to trade up in the last, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. We've been trading up going into the close of the day here for Bitcoin, and it is at 46,853, sorry. We did reach a high, which was, when was this? April 3rd, of 47,481. We've come down from that, obviously, and we are trying to get back to that high possibly going forward. Everything looks okay. The RSI is getting a little bit overextended, I think. We're getting to that territory where, above 70, we're going to be looking at it as overbought. We don't want to get there. So we'll see how that one plays out. Ethereum is also at 3,539. It has followed the trend of Bitcoin. And RSI is looking the same thing like it is in Bitcoin right now. So we'll see how this plays out going into tomorrow and into this week. We're obviously in a fresh week here for April. So we'll take a look at that tomorrow, see how this all works. So let's take a look at our first story here on Sphere 3D. So Sphere 3D Corp and Gryphon Digital Mining Inc. move forward after mutual agreement not to proceed with merger. let's take a look at some of the main details here, and then I have some questions still on this. So, dedicated, let me see here, where was it? So both of them have mutually agreed to terminate their merger agreement announced on June 3rd, 2021, and as amended on December 29th, 2021, so obviously 3 months ago. After careful consideration by both management teams and their respective boards of directors, the parties amicably agreed to the termination due to the changing market conditions, the passage of time, and the relative financial positions of the companies, among other factors. The companies will continue their relationship through the previously disclosed master service agreement, enabling Sphere3D to leverage Gryphon's expertise in Bitcoin mining and Gryphon to generate additional operating income through the management of Sphere3D's mining fleet. So the number of miners that Sphere is going to have, basically they're going to be managed by Gryphon. Take a look at here. Both companies can now focus on their strategic opportunities to drive growth for their respective shareholders. So we'll have to obviously update my spreadsheet, get them separated from each other. We'll have to see how this is going to work out. And I don't believe that Gryphon is a publicly traded company. So we'll take a look at that going forward as well. I'll have to make some changes, obviously, in my spreadsheet. So Sphere3D's net carbon neutral Bitcoin mining operation continues to grow with 1,000 miners currently operational. So that would be at about, if they're at 1,000, would that be... I'm trying to do this in my math in my head here. So 100 petahash, or I think 10,000 would be a 1 exahash. So I think 1,000 would be 100 petahash. Currently operational on the anticipated delivery of 2,000 S19J Pro miners in May of 2022 and an additional 2,000 S19J Pros in 2022. Deliveries of the remaining 55,000 S19J Pro miners are expected to be received by year end of 2022. As previously announced, Sphere3D's mining fleet will remain managed by Gryphon and primarily co-located with Core Scientific. So Core Scientific is going to have those in their possession. Gryphon continues to roll out its net carbon neutral Bitcoin mining operation with 2/3 of its 7,290 S19J Pro self-mining operation deployed as of March 31st. So they are at approximately 720 petahash. Let's take a look here. What else do we have here? So they're going to obviously earn a little bit from the management of Sphere3D mining equipment. Sphere3D remains committed to building a premier industrial mining operation and already has 6 exahash of capacity under contract for deliveries this year. And that is it. So, interesting part of it is no word on the NuMiners that they obviously announced, what was it, a couple months back, that they're going to be partnering with NuMiner to provide them with 440 terahash miners that are supposed to be the world's most efficient miners. There's no mention in it here anywhere as far as what they're going to be growing to or any part of that. I haven't seen anything from either Gryphon or from Sphere3D on that. When we look at the NuMiner website, it used to be placarded all over the place that they were, working with Sphere3D. They were buying 60,000 of their miners. The only thing we have here now is NuMiner launches with preferred customers Sphere3D, and that's it. A couple things have obviously changed here since the last time we covered this. There is no more graphic for that graphic. Well, it was a copied image of a miner that was from somebody else. I can't think of the name right now. I'm drawing a blank on it. But it was somebody else's machine they used the image for and just mocked it up for their own use. There's nothing else as far as when these are coming out, if and when these are coming out. So did this also get scrapped by Sphere3D, as they did not provide any information in the press release here? Right now they have 6 exahash, which is, let's take a look at the numbers here that I have for them right now. We'll get into that. Where is it? Sphere3D. So we have basically the miners that we know that they're supposed to be getting. These here are the ones from Gryphon, and then the NMiners 19 60,000 are supposed to be for Sphere3D. So we'll have to convert this out, and so that would be the 6 exahash that they're talking about here getting to. And then the NuMiners, obviously the NuMiners, if they got those in, that would add an extra 26.4 exahash. No mention of that anywhere in that. We'll have to see if this is still the case, if they're still going to be getting these miners or not, but there was no mention of it. They were talking about getting to 6 exahash by the end of this year. Nothing about the NuMiners. So I think this might be a dud deal. I don't think it's going to happen. these miners were a little bit, overpromised, I think. But we didn't get any results or anything from the company to show for it. We had mock-up images and some basic numbers as far as what they could be mining. So we'll see if this still plays out, if this is going to happen or not. But it's looking a little bit more doubtful that it is, especially since Sphere 3D and Gryphon have decided not to merge. And no mention of these new miners for 40s that are supposed to be, bought by Sphere 3D. So we'll see how this plays out. Obviously, I have to do some updating on my spreadsheets, get rid of the Gryphon stuff in there, as Gryphon is not publicly traded, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I don't believe they are. So next is Intel. Intel is launching a new mining chip called Blockscale. Intel's new Bitcoin mining chip, the Intel Blockscale ASIC, will ship in Q3 2022 to select customers. So Intel has announced details for its upcoming Bitcoin mining chip, the Intel Blockscale ASIC, which will ship in Q3 2022. Intel's chip, focused on energy efficiency and sustainability, will operate with up to 26 joules per terahash of power efficiency. This is not as good as the NuMiner's S19 Pros, which are the 140 terahash miners are, I believe, 21 or 20, something like that, joules per terahash. Those are even more efficient. The chipmaker will supply customers with only the ASIC chip itself instead of shipping a fully fledged mining system as currently common in the industry. So this is kind of interesting take that they're not providing a fully developed mining rig. You're getting the chips. You got to find somebody basically to make you the boards for the hashing boards, the control units, everything, the box, fans, everything else to make those basically mining machines. So this is interesting take on it because NuMiner provides you the complete thing. So this is kind of interesting that they're doing that. Going down here a little bit more, we get some more details. So therefore, a mining system consisted of 256 Intel Blockscale ASIC chips would supposedly output roughly 148 terahash, which is pretty close to that miner which they provide here, and consumes about 3,860 watts of power, which is a lot. The flagship air-cooled mining system of the current global market leader Bitmain outputs 140 terahash with energy consumption of 310 watts, which is a lot better, resulting in 21.5 joules per terahash of power efficiency. So obviously the big thing that's going to make this or break it is going to be obviously the price. Once you buy the chips, you have somebody put them on the hashing boards, put it all together. How much is it going to cost? Is it going to be close to where NuMiner charges for theirs, or is it going to be like half the cost like some people have been saying that it is going to be? If it's half the cost, then this is definitely a good deal. Going down here as well. So Intel shipments will also include a reference hardware design and software stack to jumpstart customer systems development. Argo Blockchain, Block, Inc., Hive Blockchain, and Grid infrastructure are among the first mining companies to get their hands on Intel's upcoming chips, which will begin shipping in Q3 2022. Intel said it will work with and supply prospective customers who share the company's sustainability goals starting in 2023. And I got to clear my throat here. Sorry, guys, I'm going to mute. All right, back to normal. So we'll see how this all works. It's obviously interesting that we are having Intel getting into the mining business, but it would have been nice to see them also provide a finished product. It's not a deal breaker or anything like that. It's just another step that the miners are going to have to work through. And then let's take a look at Digihost here. So Digihost achieves milestone of 1 exahash in hash rate and announces Bitcoin dividend policy. This is huge. I think this is the first company that's actually doing this, where they're going to be providing a dividend on the Bitcoin that they're mining, right? None of the other companies are doing it yet. So I think this is going to be a growing trend, possibly picking up your steam and later on this year and into possibly next year, where companies that are mining Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies will, I think, be forced to basically provide dividends to their shareholders. So this is kind of interesting. I kind of like this, what they're doing here. There's other things I like as well, but we'll get into it here. So let's go through it here really quick. Excuse me. So throughout the first quarter of 2022, the company continued to make progress on the deployment of the 10,600 M30S and M30S Plus miners we acquired last year, said Michael Mr., Chairman and CEO of Digihost. With more than half of those miners currently in operation, we have more than doubled our hash rate from 415 petahash at year-end 2021 to approximately 1 exahash today, which current network difficulty equates to approximately 4.25 coins per day on a run rate of over 120 coins mined per month. I am pleased to announce our shareholders that Digihost has adopted a new dividend policy pursuant to which the company expects to declare future dividends that will be based upon our net income. So this is net income after, we'll have to see what the net income is, whether it's after everything is said and done, everything's paid, taxes, everything, or is it before that, after basically just the expenses to mine it. We'll have to figure that out. Dividends under the new policy will be payable in either BTC or cash at the election of each shareholder. So that's interesting. I don't know how they're going to track this. This is definitely going to be a strange way of doing it, because right now, I know if you have dividends in a company, you just get shares of the company. You don't get cash or Bitcoin. So this is going to be interesting how they're going to handle it. Take a look. Where was I? Payable shareholders' future levels of dividends will be established by Digihost board of directors based upon market conditions at the time. It is expected that the first dividend will be 10% of net income. So if they make, let's take a 10 million, they'll basically give out $1 million in BTC or cash to shareholders. It's always going to be a couple pennies per share possibly. Additionally, to avoid unnecessary dilution to our shareholders, the company will begin to monetize a portion of BTC mined to fund the company's operating costs and SG&A expenses, thereby removing the need to access equity markets in order to fund these costs. Digihost is also pursuing opportunities to leverage its existing asset base to finance future infrastructure and equipment expansion through debt financing. So this is great. I like seeing this. We're obviously seeing a lot of companies that do shareholder dilution because they want to grow, so they're trying to raise capital that way. And we do have obviously also some companies that are using their Bitcoins to sell them, expand, to use that proceeds to expand and everything else that goes along with it. And then there's also a mixed bag where some are holding some are selling some, and which one's going to be the best way to go, I don't know. But we obviously have companies that are just strictly hodling, like Marathon, and some of the other guys are just complete hodl. They're using their Bitcoins to either get loans against them or they're diluting shares. And I'm not sure about that one. But it is what it is. All right. Now, take a look at here. So here's the production highlights for March 2022. So they mined 75.24 BTC during the month, increasing total holdings to 797.47 BTC, valued at approximately 36.3 million as of March 31, based on BTC price of 45,500. Ethereum holdings are still the same. They haven't changed. The only thing that's obviously possibly changed is the value on those. Total digital assets, inventory value consisting of BTC and Ethereum, approximately 39.6 million as of March 31st. And there is nothing. Oh, here we go. So anyway, there's something else. So 2022 estimated hash rate. In 2021, Digihost operated an average hash rate of approximately 275 petahash, producing an adjusted EBITDA of 14.01 million. In the process, the company anticipates 1.5 exahash average hash rate in 2022. This is interesting because I think I have like 1.1 something future hash rate. So that they're saying that they're going to be a 1.5 average hash rate in 2022 leads me to think they're going to be at possibly going to like around 2 exahash, but we just don't know. So this is approximately 5.5 times the Digihost average hash rate in 2021. Over 90% of the energy consumed by the company in its BTC mining operations is received from sources that create zero carbon emission, which is great. And there's nothing else here. So let's take a look at the numbers here that I have for Digihost, and then we'll get into this story from Marathon providing their March update as well. So Digihost, so we got 75.24 BTC mined for March, which is a value of approximately 3,425,000. And that is an increase of 24.39 over the prior month, with a percentage increase of 47, almost 50% increase on what they mined. This is great. This is huge. It is the best they have done so far. However, here's when we look at the actual month of March. I had to basically adjust it a little bit to as far as what days they were mining, how many days they were mining to get to that 3.4 million. Because if I had this at the normal 20 days that I usually use on the new miners that were installed, I got them at 1 exahash right now with about 10,510 miners operational. I had to lower the days of operation in order to get close to basically this value here of 3.4 million, which is what they're going to be basically getting paid on it. So it looks like the new miners were possibly installed within the last 5 to 7 days, I'm guessing. And some of the other miners were possibly, possibly shut down for a day or two. That's the only way I can come up with it to work out was really close to what they reported here as far as mining BTC value-wise. That's the only way I could do it. I'm using the March numbers for Bitcoin, which is, let's see here, settings. March numbers is 45,528. That's how that's being calculated. I'm using the average hash rate from the start hash rate, end hash rate, and that's what's calculating it. So it's pretty close to what they are reporting. And some of the other news that we have here on them is institutions have increased 24, so a lot more institutions have been buying them. Shares that are owned by institutions rose also to 1.84 million, and it's now 7.37% owned by institutions. The recommendations are still the same. We have one buy, but we have a little bit higher target now of 841 for the high, average, and low are the same. And nothing else has really changed. But we can take a look at the numbers here on them and see if they are undervalued or overvalued right now. Excuse me. We're using the price to earnings multiple of 15 with the possible net income for the last, or gross income for the last 3 quarters and this previous quarter. We're looking at a combined total of 28 million, roughly 28.4 million. With a price to earnings multiple of 15, 75% net income from gross revenue, we're looking at 21 million. And they have 34.5 million shares outstanding currently. That would get us to a stock price of 928. If we look to see where they are basically at right now, the price to earnings multiple is about 6 on them, which I think is undervalued. Even if we get them closer to 10, they should be closer to $6.19. So they are undervalued in my opinion. And they are going to be getting their hash rate up to 1.5, possibly 2 if they're talking about average hash rate for the year of 2022. They are currently at 1 exahash. They are pretty fully installed. They do need to buy some more miners, so it'll be interesting to see which miners they do purchase, whether it's the Intel's upcoming miners or they're going to be able to get some of the end miners, maybe the 140 terahash or something like that. So that's where we have them right now. HODL position is 797 as we had before. It's about 30% of the market cap of the company right now, which is 127 million. And basically you got $1.08 of BTC HODL there in each share price right now. All right. So like I said, great job by them getting to 1 exahash this month or last month in March. I think it's going to be a lot better going forward because we're going to have possibly those more days where it's earning. So let's take a look at that really quick here. So in April, we're looking at possibly having them earning almost 6.3 million going forward. If Bitcoin just stays where it's at, difficulty stays at where it's at compared to the 3.5. So I think this is going to possibly get them more. We'll have to see if they're able to mine all these days here in April, but that would get them close to about 6 million. That is obviously going to help them going forward as well. And then they just need to obviously install more miners. So great job by them. Very interested to hear about this dividend payment, how that's going to work. That might also obviously lead to investors getting into the stock as well. Not financial advice because it's not financial advice. All right. Okay. So let's take a look at Marathon here and then we will call it a day. I know this is a long video, guys, so I'm sorry about that. But a lot of stuff going on. Okay. So Marathon provided their operation updates for March and 2022. We got some regular stuff. Here's the important part of it. So corporate highlights as of April 1st, 2022, produced a record 1,258.6 self-mined Bitcoin during Q1 2022, a 556% increase from 191.8 self-mined Bitcoin in Q1 2021, and a 15% sequential increase from the 1,098.2 self-Bitcoin mined in Q4. So October, November, December. Q1 2021 Bitcoin production would have increased 17% from the prior quarter to 1,281.5 BTC, holding the global hash rate rate constant from December 31st to 2021 in March. Obviously, we know the hash rate is increasing, so they're going to be mining less. They got to get more miners installed. It goes the same way for everybody. Produced 436.1 self-mined Bitcoin during March 2022, a 21% increase from 3,360.4 self-Bitcoin mined during February 2022. Increased total Bitcoin holdings to approximately 9,373.6 BTC with a fair market value of approximately 427.7 million. A lot of cash tied up in Bitcoin right now. Obviously, they're basically waiting for Bitcoin to go up in value if Bitcoin goes up to 100,000, you could see this easily being worth almost $1 billion. Cash on hand was approximately 118 million, and total liquidity defined as cash and Bitcoin holdings was approximately 546 million. They have successfully deployed 1,320 miners in the month of March, which isn't a lot, especially where they want to get to. So they really need to step this up. And part of the problem was obviously with, Compute North being behind the grid. They got to get all these approvals and everything else. That's what's really kind of hampering the build up. They also received approximately 5,600 S19 ASIC miners from Bitmain during the month of March. So there you see they got a bunch of them in, but they only were able to install 1,320. So they need to really ramp that up. Existing mining fleet consists of 36,830 active miners producing approximately 3.9 exahash. And then after receiving final permits and regulatory approval, miners are currently expected to be energized in the coming weeks and deployments accelerate throughout the rest of 2022, which is what we really want to see. I looked through here to see if there's any news as far as if they were shut down for any number of days because of the cold weather. They had to turn the miners off to provide power back into the grid. Did not see anything in here, but in order for me to get to where they are and what they actually mined for the day, for the month, we'll take a look at the numbers here right now and we'll kind of talk about it a little bit. So Marathon reported 436.1 Bitcoin were mined in March. That gets us to a value of 19,854,760. It is a nice increase, obviously 75.8 from the prior month, which is about 21% increase. But it's still not the peak of where they were mining. Their best month looks like it was in December, where they mined 484 Bitcoin. Prior to that, we had 469 here in August of last year, which hash rate obviously was way down because of the China ban on mining. So that obviously helped a lot of the miners mine a lot more Bitcoin during that period of time. And they're slowly starting to get back up to being where they were in January and December. But they need to install more miners for that to happen. So 19.8 million is what they're expected to make in March. I have them right now at 19.8 here for March, and we'll take a look at how I got there. I did get them to pretty close to 3.9. I got about, well, they got to do some math here a little bit. We're at 3.882. So some of these miners might be 110 terahash miners. We'll have to do that, but we're pretty close to 3.9. And I got the number of 36,830 miners installed. So it's just a matter of getting that number to match up now. The only thing is, in order for me to get to that 19.8 million revenue, I had to basically take down, what is that, 6 days of mining from March. March would have had 31 days, I believe. So I had to come down 6 days on all these miners, and then the new miners that were installed basically to 20 days on average for the month. If that's what that's just the average that I'm using for new miners being installed for 20 days. So that's a lot. If that's the case, either they weren't, the other possibility is, they'd have their own mining pool. So maybe the mining pool wasn't as lucky at certain times. That could be the other thing, is they could be still mining, operating, but they're just not that lucky at getting the blocks. Or they had to shut down. We just don't know. They didn't provide that they had to shut down. So there was two possibilities that could happen. Miners were shut down, or they weren't as lucky as getting the miner rewards from the pool. Nonetheless, they still did a heck of a job getting to almost $20 million. Updates on the institutions. So I just checked this today. Institutions have increased to 337, which is a nice increase. Shares also has increased to 45.2 million. Percent owned is now 41% of institutions own Marathon. Buy ratings are still 3 strong buys, 3 regular buys, and then price has gone up a little bit. So high is now 66 compared to 65. Average was 58.20, up from 53.83, and the low is up to 50 from 48. So that is good news there. And looking at the numbers here on top, so they are approximately 3.9 exahash right now. Future hash rate is going to be 23.3 exahash. They are about 16.6% installed right now. They still have a lot of ways to go, obviously. And if they want to get to that point, we're already in April. That's not a lot of time to get to basically 23 by the end of this year. So they really need to get those miners installed and relatively quickly. So the next couple months, if they can do it, are going to be some big jumps in possibly their mining hash rate. Looking at where they are right now as far as mining the last 3 months for this first quarter and then the last 3 quarters, we're looking at a combined total of about 191 million in total revenue. 75% net income from gross revenue would be 143 million. Price earnings multiple of 20. We're looking at a stock price of 27.83 right now. They are at 28.92. They appear to be pretty well valued and maybe a little bit overvalued. I'd say they're fairly valued right now at 20 price to earnings multiple. Could they go up in price? Sure, Bitcoin can go up in price as well, so that could obviously drive the stock up higher. Getting more miners installed, growing their hash rate, being able to mine more is obviously going to grow their hash rate also. So I wouldn't be surprised if they get a 25, 30 multiple going forward. We've seen it before when Bitcoin was running, they were up closer to that range anyways. But in my opinion, I think as long as they can execute properly, get everything done without any hiccups, they should be worth more. I'm guessing closer probably to maybe $50 or something like that by the 50 or if not more by the end of the year. All right, I think that is it. BTC HODL, obviously 9,373. We are looking at about 14.75% of total HODL values in the market cap. Market cap right now is 2.9 billion. Shares outstanding is 103 million. So each share basically has $4.25 worth of Bitcoin HODL in it right now. So that's kind of what we're looking at. All right. Thank you so much for, sticking it out all this way. It's been a pretty long one. I don't know how long we've been doing it, probably half an hour or so right now. A lot of news. Sphere 3D, obviously interesting to note that they are not going to be merging with Gryphon. I'll have to update my spreadsheet on that, see how that's going to play out going forward. Intel, interesting as well that they're not making their own miners. They're going to be just providing the chips, and then the miners are going to have to figure out a way to create their own miners. So that's kind of interesting there. And then nice job by Digihost. Great month for them. Nice growth. Really want to hear what they're going to be doing as far as growing that to possibly, they're saying 1.5 average, so I'm guessing maybe around 2 for the year, by the end of the year. So we'll see what they report on that. But that's great news because they don't have a lot of shares outstanding. Right now they have like 33 some million shares, which is really good. And obviously Marathon has a long ways to go. Great month for them last month. We want to see that continue and get better and more miners. I mean, you really need to have about 10,000 miners being installed because they still have, what do they have, number of miners, 36,000 right now, and they're supposed to have like 190,000 miners or something like that. So they really need to, pick that up if they want to get by the end of the year to the 23.3 exahash. So that's it. That's all I got for you guys. Like as always, the spreadsheet is available to my Patreon members. If you guys want access to that, you can get it there. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it very much from you guys. Then the only thing I ask for is smashing the like button and subscribing if you enjoyed it. And that's all I got for you guys. Hope you guys have a wonderful night. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, bye.